A power of attorney is a way of giving someone you trust the legal authority to make decisions on your behalf if you're no longer able to make them yourself or if you don't want to. Now, it's important to note that the power of attorney is only effective whilst you're still alive. So what scenarios would require a power of attorney to be put in place or to be enacted? The most common one is when you lose mental capacity. And for the majority of us, we are familiar with elderly people who are suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's. In most cases, they can't make good judgments because of their mental capacity. So it's difficult for them to deal with their finances or even sometimes make decisions about their health and welfare. So in those scenarios, it is important to have someone that they trust, the authority to act on their behalf. So that's the most common scenario. But I think it's important for people who are younger to also consider some of the scenarios that come up that could result in them not being able to make decisions for themselves. And it's something that I think about a lot. Now more than ever, in this stressful world that we live in, I am experiencing a lot of my peers and people who are even younger than me suffering from things like strokes. In most cases, people have recovered, but there's been a period, whether it's 6 months, a year or 2 years, where they really cannot make decisions for themselves, or it's actually difficult for them to just do the day-to-day things, and even simple things like accessing their bank accounts, talking to their bank, being able to move money from different accounts. I mean, if you're anyone like me, I've got 3 banks and some of them have got spaces in them and I'm constantly moving money back and forth. So you can imagine if for some reason I was incapacitated and the mortgage had to be paid, someone needs to make sure that the money is moved from my personal account into the joint account where the mortgage payment gets paid out from. And that's just a simple scenario. I've come across scenarios where one spouse has been incapacitated and the other spouse has had no access to their bank accounts. They don't know their passwords. They don't know their emails. And so they cannot move money to make payments because that individual was moving the money physically. There weren't any direct debits being set up. But also sometimes it's just important right at the beginning of that scenario to make sure that the money that's supposed to be coming in through salaries, etc., is coming in. So I would really like you, if you are sort of, from the ages of 18 onwards, think about what could happen where you would need someone to act on your behalf. And if there are any scenarios that come into your head, then do consider setting up a power of attorney. Other scenarios, which, are not great to think about, but if you're someone who drives, I know in the UK, our roads are generally safe, but, if an accident happens and for some reason you are unable to deal with your personal affairs for a period of time, that's when your power of attorney can kick in. On the practical side of things, you have to choose someone who you trust. And it could be 2 people. Now, scenarios are there where people have 3 attorneys. They appoint 3 people to be their attorneys. And in those instances, it could be that if someone isn't available for whatever reason, the other 2 can step in or one of them can step in.